Okay, here we go. Good morning, and welcome to the home of Unitarian Universalism in Central Washington. I'm Pat Whitfield. I serve on the worship committee. I'm a greeter, and I sing in the choir, and I'll be your celebrant this morning. If you are a visitor this morning, we are so glad that you are here. We welcome every person of goodwill, just as you are, whatever body you inhabit, whoever you love, whatever your age, you are welcome here. We invite everyone to join us for coffee, treats, and conversation after the service, both in person and on Zoom. For the folks on Zoom, you'll find the order of service in the chat. And for everyone in our building, please take a moment to turn around and wave to everyone on Zoom at that camera that's over the exit sign. Okay, and now take a moment to greet those around you.
Now just the right away.
Okay, that was a nice congenial welcome. There are several announcements. First and foremost, today there will be a picnic for all, especially for parents and their children. It will be held at the Piper and Devin Pettit's house. Piper and Devin, are you here? No. Yeah, they're probably home getting ready. The address is 205 34th Street Northwest here in East Wenatchee, and the picnic will start at 12:30. Excuse me. Then you should also be interested in knowing about the Credo group that excuse me, I seem to have a frog in my throat this morning. The Credo group that Reverend Thomas is going to be starting for every Tuesday at 6:30. And you do need to sign up, and it starts this Thursday. So be sure, because it will only be conducted if there are 6 people present. Okay, so that's really important. We also need volunteers for elected positions on our board, and also on the new building task force and several other task forces. So this is a good way that you can contribute and support to our beloved community, is by putting your time and energy into these opportunities. And then finally, Carol Velasquez has something to share with you. So if Carol, would you come up here and and share?
Thank you, Pat. Hi, I'm Carol Velasquez, and I'm an AmeriCorps volunteer. I work at the Chelan Douglas County Community Market. I'm the coordinator for the market, and I've worked so many hours that I need to drop back and work less hours. So I'm looking for volunteers at the market that might be willing to just restock shelves. If you don't like interacting with people, you can do this anytime, Monday through Friday. We will cater to whatever time you would like to appear. It would take maybe an hour, hour and a half. So not a big time commitment. If you like to interact with people, we're always looking for volunteers to work when the market is open. We're open Wednesday and Thursday from 1 to 3:30, and the second and fourth Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. So I'm just putting this out there and appreciate anyone who'd be willing to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. Our fellowship is located in the ancestral homeland of the Pisquosa. For thousands of years, the Pisquosa have been stewards of this land, fishing, hunting, gathering roots and berries, and practicing cultural traditions. The Pisquosa still live here. We acknowledge that their land, like that of so many other First Nations on this land, was taken because the U.S. government broke treaty obligations and carelessly allowed uninvited white colonizers to settle on their homeland. We stand alongside our indigenous neighbors as they continue their traditions and seek to have all their rights recognized. We acknowledge our shared responsibility to sustain right relations with each other and the land. For more information on this, please visit our website, cascadeuu.org, under Welcome.
Call you into the spirit of worship, these words. It is okay to be tired of change. It's okay to be tired of everything being different every day. It's okay to feel weary, being resilient, needing to awaken. It's okay to resist yet more learning and growth, and to yearn simply for rest. But that is not all one's life. Let this morning be a reminder that you are loved. No matter how tired you are, you share in the ordinary ways of being human. Let our time together soothe what is restless in you. May you be comforted, knowing that whatever you are, whatever you feel, you are not alone. You are never alone. Remember that whatever change and growth await you, you are not alone. So let us worship together. And to begin worship is to bring all our voices together, to rise our bodies and spirits as we are able, and to sing the song, Morning Has Broken.
Seated. The chalice and the flame symbolize our congregation gathered in principles and faith. If you are at home and have a chalice with you, please light it after we speak our lighting words in Inglés or in Español. We light this chalice with love for the earth, of which we are all part. We pledge to care for what it needs and hold it in our hearts. Encendemos este cáliz con amor por la tierra, a la cual pertenecemos, prometemos cuidarla y llevarla en el corazón. If there are children who'd like to be close to the book when I read this story, you're more than welcome to come up. Or children at heart. Our children to the room. You're going to walk through this tunnel, okay?
The spirit of love, we set aside this time for community building, for sharing, honoring, remembering, reflecting on the events of our lives and the things of great significance. Remember, we only can share those things that we, especially if they include other people, that we have permission to share. We speak reverently, we speak as briefly as we can, and then we can light a candle. If you come up and we have the microphone, I'll have to get the microphone over here, we will You can say your name first and then light a candle. You may have heard of Mary, quite contrary. How was it that her garden grew? One day, she decided to feed all the ants in her garden with insect growth formula. And she did this because she was a Unitarian Universalist, and she wanted to show everyone that she had lots of tolerance. Tolerance. That's all I needed to say today. So. Many people, when they speak of growth, only speak about what can be identified by numbers. How many people, or how many dollars, how much power. But one way to describe the UU faith is that we believe, we trust, we work for growing goodness in the human heart, growing human character, growing qualities in human living. We have values and principles that we name. Yet our goal is not just to talk about those, not just think about them, not work on the wording about them, but to embody them in our lives, to see their power growing in the world. Of course, exactly what growth looks like is different at different stages in our lives. We have individual growth and what growth looks like when you're a little child or teen, what it looks like when you're in your 30s and 40s, and what it looks like when you're in your 70s and 80s. Growth changes. Life is changing all the time. And yet we want to grow those characters. We want to find what the barriers are, the new limits to that quality of human living, and seek its growth. I love this story about Harlem Grown. There's two versions of the book. First was called Harlem Grown, and then the second was called Saturdays at Harlem Grown. In 2011, the author, Tony Hillary, had started volunteering at a school, local school. He felt he needed to do. He was a very busy businessman. He was very active in his business, and he felt he wasn't contributing to his community enough, and so he decided to volunteer at this school. Public school, poor school, right? And he met children who were just like his own children, but who had fewer resources and different experiences than he had as a child or that his children had. And the difference was primarily because of the quality of the neighborhood. And so he decided to create an urban farm. He said, there we plant fruits and vegetables, but grow healthy children and sustainable communities, and we build a bridge from the more affluent parts of the city areas to our garden. We mentioned the community action market. Helping people who have limited resources have more resources, preventing, not just reducing, but preventing starvation, preventing hunger has always been key in this community. And that's part of what the garden was doing, was, of course, getting people food and showing that even a dead lot, the little girl had called it the ghost lot when she was a child, when she first saw it. To see that it could bring out life and that life would rise from that ghost lot. It's powerful. And we want to help prevent hunger. But more than that, we want to create community, create connections. The community market is the center of this whole area's commitment to fighting hunger and to providing food, good food and sustenance to people. But still, our little pantry, still packing friendship is essential. We need all the ways in which we help one another, creating community, connecting with people. Tony Hillary, in his book, said, after a life of business, you kind of lose sight of what's really important. Changing careers at 51 was very scary for me at first. But once the children started calling me Mr. Tony, everything changed. It's those connections, it's those relationships. It's the kind of world in which he lived that mattered more. Growth is not always just hard work and planning. There's a lot that goes into growth. Attention, noticing what's going on, noticing those wolves. Famous story about having two wolves, one that's cruel and hungry and frightened and angry and aggressive, and another wolf that's kind and protective and defensive and helps feed the little ones. And the question is, which one is going to grow? It's the one that you feed. Who are you going to feed? What is going to grow? Thich Nhat Hanh, great Buddhist teacher, often talked about life being a garden. And you need to do some weeding, he said. You need to pick out those weeds. You don't get rid of all of the weeds in the world. You don't hate them and fear them. You just take them out where they're going to get in the way of the things that you really want to see blossom, things you want to make room for and have them grow. I always like that quote from the semi-Unitarian Henry David Thoreau. He's a good friend of Emerson. Emerson was a Unitarian preacher until he quit and became a public speaker. But Henry Thoreau went out to Walden Pond. And there, while he was there, he said, sometimes on a sunny summer morning, having taken my accustomed bath, I sat in my sunny doorway from sunrise till noon, wrapped in a reverie amidst the pines and the hickories and the sumacs, in undisturbed solitude and the stillness, while birds sang around or flitted noiseless through the house. I grew in those seasons like corn in the night. They were not days subtracted from my life, but so much over and above my usual allowance. So sometimes growing the Spirit requires just relaxing, resting, being open to the wonder and the power and the beauty that is being in this world, being in this valley. And then there was the guy who said, I'm very committed to personal growth, and my bathroom scale tells me I'm growing every day. There are certain comforts that really don't help you grow. You may feel relaxed. You may feel very open to those potato chips, right? But they're not really helping you grow the spirit, the qualities you want. And sometimes you have to do work. Sometimes you have to go to places and meet people you would not necessarily have met otherwise. To hear that challenge, to hear that call, and then to respond to it changes not only you, but the world around you. I struggle with organization. My brain is not really well organized. I like to make connections, jump to new things, and leap to another thing. You'll hear this in my sermons sometimes, wandering around. I have had to learn that if I care about community, as a Unitarian Universalist minister, I had to care about how it was organized and how I brought people in and what it is that we were serving and giving to others and what it is that we are nurturing and how we're nurturing things. It takes work. It takes care. It takes intention. As global markets have fallen recently and our current president of the United States proclaims, this is a great time to get rich. Richer than ever before. We're going to become so rich you're not even going to know where to spend all that money, he says. But But he's not really saying how to make the world more kind or just. A 2-year-old citizen born in this country, he sent out, his agents sent out of this country. And elder people and others, just the devastation over and over of human lives. I remember watching the video, the guy in the market over on the Wenatchee side of the river being taken away by agents, and his family's going, "What are you doing?" He's being shoved into a car. How do we not just make money and gain power, but use that power to love people, to show inclusion, to create a global community? And now we're going to have to repair what little global community we had. We had worked for decades to create truly a global economy, a global set of relationships. I was listening to someone from Canada the other day who was trying to get rid of American products. They just want to get rid of everything that was American in their life. And they found that was really, really hard to do because the ingredients of various items come from different places. And some of them were coming from America. And they couldn't figure out how to get it, not just made in America, but parts of it being made in America, because it's a global community. We're all sharing the resources and we're shipping things back and forth. And that was binding us together and making it less likely that we're going to be murdering each other in wars, right? How do we recover that? How do we create that? And sometimes it's done at a very, very local level. When I lived in Muncie, Indiana, there was a man I met there named Barami, Muhammad Barami. And he was he had a longer name. I'm just going to say that part of his name. And he had, as a young man, he was a mujahideen, right? Mujahideen are people who protect Islam. They're fighters for Islam and defending the community of peace and justice in the world. That's what he believed he was doing, fighting the Soviets who were coming to take over Afghanistan. And he fought them, and he killed people, and he fought in war, and he faced the difficulties of war. And part of that was it planted seeds in him that he wanted to become a doctor. He wanted to become a medical person who would help people and heal lives. And then there's more war, and eventually he finds himself in a refugee camp, escaping with his mother, trying to get out of the country. And he met his wife there, met his wife in a refugee camp. And the two of them, because of various reasons, came to Muncie, Indiana. And he was serving as a doctor there. And he said, I am still a mujahideen. I am still fighting for the beloved community. But I'm fighting for that through my patience. I'm fighting for that with Unitarian Universalists. I didn't even know Unitarian Universalists exist. But he and I, Amy went over to his house, he and Bibi Barami, his wife, and they had 2 children in the same high school as our children, to make those connections, created a sense of global care and community. Bibi created a not-for-profit organization that sends money to her little village. And when I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I wrote her. I said, when the fundamentalists had come in and taken over the much of Afghanistan, and there was war going on, I asked her if she was going to keep her organization. It's called Awaken, Afghani Women and Children Care. And she said, the fundamentalists will ignore my little village. The government will ignore my little village. I must pay attention, and I get other people to pay attention. That there are these little gatherings of people all around the world that we can connect to, that we can care for, that we can love. And I want this community to be a part of that, as it has always been, and to continue to grow the number of people who come in and can be lifted up by it and feel those connections. To feel that El Salvador no es un otro país, But it's part of our country, and we're connected to it. Connected and caring. To grow that takes work. It also means creating more space. The old rule at the end of the 20th century, the average size of a congregation, either Jewish or Christian, in this country was 150 people. 150. We're not quite there yet. There was also another rule which says once you got to 80% capacity in your meeting space, we can have about 90 people here, and so that's somewhere down about 70 people that can come in. And we've been hitting that lately. Been hitting 70 people, 60, 70 people almost every Sunday. How do we create more space? How do we draw in more people? How do we find others to come in? The old school, very narrow forms of Christianity are still present, very active in the world, but they are weakening. Pew Research Center recently has determined that lots more people are starting to disaffiliate. Religion has undermined itself. Conservative, traditional religion has undermined itself in all sorts of ways, but there's bigger shifts going on. All the young people who grew up as digital natives think of community differently. They don't think of congregations. The idea of joining a congregation is rather rare for young people especially. They may think, oh, that's a nice place or something good's going on there, but they don't think about joining it and showing up every single Sunday. So how do we encourage people to think, actually, it's a pretty good thing? How do you find people and tell them why it's worth it? How do we create a bigger community and draw more people in? Unitarian Universalism has deep roots in Christianity and even deeper roots in the ethical traditions of Judaism. Commitment to how we live in the world and how we treat one another and what we trust. What do we have faith and hope and love in? Where do those come from? I had a friend, a member of a congregation. He was part of my congregation. He was an atheist, very ardent atheist. His father had been a devout Christian. And he had rejected all the doctrines and superstitions of his father. And then when his father was was in his 70s, he died. And this man who had he knew, he's an atheist. He knew he's going to die. We'll all die, and that's it. He suddenly felt this bereavement, this emptiness in his life. And he didn't know what to do with that. And he started paying attention to me, and I was once talking about interdependence. And I mentioned the idea of dependent origination and tied that to the idea that in Buddhism of reincarnation. You go around cycles, and that everything that you are and everything that's made you who you are and everything that you do and everything you're connected to continues in this world even when you die. And to honor that and to understand the importance of your life. It doesn't just end when your life ends. To feel that and to know that. And it helped him reconnect to his father's notion of a heaven when everyone was getting together. But he realized it was here and it was now. And so he started to volunteer. He started to volunteer at a school on a reading program, and he got to meet this little boy. Became friends with the little boy. He was shocked one day when he told the little boy that he should go to the park more often. And then one day they were at a public park, and he saw the little boy and his mom. Got to meet his mom. He was part of a new community, a growing community, and his understanding of his connection to Unitarian Universalists was growing and deepening. Even that late in his life, there were new possibilities. Always there are new possibilities. Always there are new connections. And that is what we live for, and that is what we strive for, and that is what we try to grow in this congregation. To talk a little bit about nurturing this congregation, to talk about how we're going to nurture and grow its life, and I'll invite Pat back up to call for the offering.
The offering is an ancient element of worship. Giving, regardless of the amount, is a spiritual practice that expresses our thankfulness and generosity. Joyfully sharing our gifts and strengths in service to the greater good is one way we create the beloved community. We live these values in abundance. We are blessed by your generosity. May your gifts make a difference in our communities through the ministries of this church. May our ministry to one another help our light grow. And now, let's sing our closing song, number 118, This Little Light of Mine. Oh, I'm sorry. I was so bedazzled by the song, it just... Okay, all right. After we extinguish our chalice, please join me in saying the words printed in your order of service or on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and embody in our lives until we are together again. Right now we want to gather in a circle so we can sing our final song.